All right, well, this is really part two of my 7-part series on socialism. What is it? It's a worldview, it's a way of living. It's got 4 spheres, 2 pillars of main pillars of action, and really can touch all of life for us. And I'm really trying to let it touch all of my life. This episode, I'm really going to focus on socialism as a way of living, as a way of life. Part one was really about socialism as a worldview. But as a way of life, it is grounded in sort of 2 main postures or 2 focal points: inner experience and outward expression. The inner experience of the interconnection of everything, because socialism as a worldview sees everything interconnected. All of us, myself, you, everything around us, and for me at least, a connection with personal divinity, which I see as love with a capital L. But there's 2 postures of that, or 2 energies around it, I guess, if you will. The inner experience of it, and the outward expression of that, which I talk about as 2 pillars of practice, namely that we can experience interconnection through imaginative empathy, and we can express interconnection through compassionate action. What I mean by imaginative empathy, first of all, let me mention what I refer to as empathy, or what I mean by empathy. Empathy is deeper than compassion. Compassion is when I care for or about someone or something, and that's really, really important. That's a great start. Empathy goes, I would say, a little bit more inside of that, because with empathy, I'm actually intentionally trying to put myself inside the soul of another person or thing or situation. I'm actually trying to be in it as if I am it or them. That's what empathy really is. And that's why it requires imagination, is to be able to actually step out of my own experience, my own self, my own memories, my own thoughts, my own perceptions, and put myself imaginatively inside another person or situation or thing or being. It's that as if that requires the imagination. I see someone on the street, and compassion might mean that I care about them or for them. I want to perhaps try to help them. That's compassionate action, and very important. But empathy is trying to put myself in the position of, I wonder what it's like to be them, and then try to actually imagine that as best I can. And obviously, the better we know people, the more we're actually able to do that accurately. But just the act of imaginative empathy already enables us to experience something of the interconnection that we have with other people, other things, animals, plants, nature, and the divine. And I'll talk a little bit more about what it means to have imaginative empathy with the divine as we go as well. So again, that really requires imagination. Compassionate action is then embodying this sense of interconnection, embodying compassion. It's compassion enacted in acts of compassion. And that can begin even just as an intention. We don't actually have to do something. Compassion as an action, compassionate action begins as an intention. And I think that intention is already an action. It's already an enactment within our souls. And sometimes that can be enough. Sometimes that's all we can do, is intend, aspire to exercise compassion. For example, if we hear about a story of somebody on the other side of the world, I can be empathetically connected through my imagination, and I can actually, through an intention of compassion, do something, as it were. But it can also be a spoken word. It can be an actual act of solidarity, standing with someone or alongside them. It can be a response to someone in an opposite spirit. In other words, if somebody's really annoying me in social media or in an interaction, compassionate action is actually engaging with them in a way that's opposite to that thing that's really annoying me. If they're being really prejudiced, for example, if they're being really angry, if they're being really bitter, I can come in an opposite way towards that, trying to understand instead of being prejudiced, and trying to speak with respect, calmly, in the face of perhaps a sort of raging red anger that's coming at me. You get the idea. There's lots of different ways to express that. So, if someone is speaking really derogatory words to me, I can speak back with kind words. I can find something positive to say about the person. All of those are expressions of compassionate action. So, imaginative empathy and compassionate action are part of the way of life of a socialist way of life. So socialism is a worldview, seeing everything interconnected. It's a way of life which acts as if everything is interconnected through imaginative empathy with all people and all things, and myself and the divine, and through acts of compassion, compassionate action driven by compassion. I'm going to do a song that's called the Socialism Mantra, which was my way of trying to put into music and lyric, I guess, the artistic expression of what for me would be both the worldview of interconnection and then the kinds of imaginative empathy and compassionate action that might flow from such a worldview. So this is Soulcialism Mantra. Everything belongs to everyone. And everyone belongs to everything. We vote for empty promises, 'cause we want power on our side. But doing the right thing in the wrong way just turns truth into a lie. Everything belongs to everyone. And everyone belongs to everything. There's a world we all want to see, but to make that dream come true means letting go of everything, laying down all we're clinging to. Everything belongs to everyone. And everyone belongs to everything. We all breathe from the same sky. We see the same stars with these eyes. So how long is it gonna take until we finally realize that everything belongs to everyone? Everything belongs to everyone. And everyone belongs to everything. Well, practice-wise for this, in the last episode, I really focused more on the sort of experience of imaginative empathy, and I think this time just really want to encourage us with the action that flows from compassion. So, as I've said before, that can flow from an intention. It can flow from, it can be a word, or it could be an actual action. So, what you might want to do, just a suggested practice, I try to do this almost every day, is as I'm scrolling through news headlines, and some of you consume your news through social media, some of us watch different news feeds from different news sources who all have their own agendas. But just as an act of compassionate action, as an expression of compassionate action, as you scroll through the news, as you hear about a headline, maybe it's a massive global event, or it could just be the story of somebody around the world or in your own community, forming an intention of compassion towards that person is already an act, or towards that situation. Even a cry for help, even if you're not sure who you're crying out to, is an act of compassion. Speaking words, even out loud, if you're perhaps alone, just kind of turning those inner intentions into actual words. Help, comfort, rescue, save, change their mind, whatever it may be. And then, looking for opportunities to act out of compassion towards someone around you. Maybe it's somebody that's really agitated and angry that you're seeing in a social media post, and simply speaking, putting back in there words, that too is an action of that have a different spirit to them, a different tone. You'll think of things, and if you're not thinking of something, maybe just pause and get quiet and ask yourself or the divine or capital L love, show me what kind of compassionate action to take, and trust your intuition. All right, well, the next time I'm going to talk a little bit more about those four. I'm going to start unpacking those four spheres a little bit more. What does it mean to have interconnection and experience that with myself, and then with others, and then with the world around me, and then with the divine. So see you next time.